Hi everybody, Stu, AG6AG. You know what the second most popular question I get from new amateur radio operators? How do I program my radio? Of course, the first question is, what radio should I buy? Now, I'm known to recommend very inexpensive HT radios as the first radio for a new ham. Why? Well, these are $30. You make a mistake, you drop it in the mud, you drop it in a lake, you run over it with your car, you're out $30, right? Once you get a little bit more proficient, used to carrying a radio and stuff like that, then we move up a little. This is the Yaesu FT60. I love this HT. It is absolutely fantastic. There's other great ones out there. ICOM makes amazing HTs. So does, oh my gosh, so does Kenwood. Also, I like a lot of the other radios that Yaesu comes out with too. So, again, but the Baofeng's perfect for a new amateur radio operator. But that's not why we're here. We're here to show you how to program a radio with an open source project software called Chirp. Chirp has been in development for years. It is well aged, I should say. Great support for radios, especially Baofeng. And we're going to take a look at how to use the Chirp program. Little disclaimer, okay, you should read through your manual for your HT, the manual that came with it. And in the case of the Baofengs, you probably should look through for some other information as well up on the internet to help you so you can actually program your radio from the radio itself. You never know. You may not be around a computer and need to program in a new repeater. And you know what? If you don't know how to do it, you're going to be trying to figure out how to do it in order to be able to communicate. All right? Now, without any further ado, one last thing. Sorry to do this, but hey, if you can, click the subscribe button for me. It really helps me out. And if you click on the little bell, you'll also get notifications when I come out with new videos. All right? With that, let's go ahead and get started. Well, all right. Let's go ahead and get started with installing Chirp. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and open our browser. And once our browser opens up, we're going to go ahead and type in Chirp, CHIRP, software. That brings up the very top item as being chirp.danplanet.com. Let's go ahead and click on that, and it takes us to the Chirp website. On this front page, you can look down and check to see if your radio is supported. Look at all the Baofengs that are supported here. And also, it's interesting because it talks about a Baofeng that's supported and how to use it with another Baofeng or other radio configuration, right? Which is very, very helpful. So if I'm looking at the BFF8 and the BFF8 Plus, it tells me to use the UVR or 5R. So really, really a good website. They also have some great additional information, issues, anything that you want. But for right now, we're going to go to download. And I'm going to scroll down here and I want to download the latest version for Windows. Opens up this download page and there you go, Chirp Daily from 2021-01-10. That is the latest version. I'm going to click on that and I'm going to go ahead and let it download. And we're going to let the antivirus software figure out if it's safe. All right, well, now that it's done downloading, let's go ahead and run it. Now it's going to ask me if I really want to do this, and I'm going to say yes. Let's go ahead and minimize the browser. And it brings us to our Chirp setup. So I'm just going to hit next. I'm going to agree to the license. Encourage you to read that. I'm going to go ahead and take the default. It's going to extract and install it. And then I'm going to finish. So where am I going to find Chirp? I'm going to find it right down here under Chirp. And let's go ahead and we'll just grab it and drag it out to the desktop where it'll make a link for it, so we'll always have it to use. It'll be easy to access. Okay, well, now that we've got Chirp installed, let's go ahead and switch to our radio, shall we? Now, the radio that we're going to be working with right now, this is a Baofeng BF-F8 Plus. Looks just like a UV5R. And believe it or not, we'll be defining our programming for this as a UV5R when we select the radio that we're working with. They're pretty much identical. So let's go ahead and turn this on. And oh my goodness, this is already programmed. That's got real frequencies in it. Well, let's fix that. If you buy one of these radios used, you're probably going to want to change a lot of the frequencies and stuff like that. Even if you get it brand new, you probably are going to want to reset it. Okay? So first thing we do is we press the menu button. We're going to use the down arrow until we see reset. And then we're going to click the menu again and then use the down arrow until we get to all. Then we're going to push the menu again. Hit all again, and away we go. Chile Moshi to you too, Baofeng. So now the language, everything has changed on it. Okay? We'll go ahead and shut it off. Now there is nothing on this radio that was on there before. Okay, so this allows us to start from scratch. Now, let's go ahead and open up Chirp. But before we do that, let's go ahead and identify our COM port, right? So, what we're actually going to do here is we're going to plug in one of these. This is a programming cable for a Baofeng. Okay? This one even says Baofeng on it. So, but we need to identify it. We want to know what COM port it is, so we're going to look under ports under our device manager when we plug it in. So, there we go. Oh, interesting. This says this chipset has been phased out since 2012 and I should contact my provider or my supplier. Now, what does that actually mean? Well, what it means is this cable is no good. It's not going to work on Windows 10. Now, there are complicated methods that you can go and figure out how to load an old driver and everything else. Your mileage probably is going to vary on that, and I recommend that you don't do it. Let's just go ahead and unplug this one. So this one actually needs to go in the trash. Yes, even though it says Baofeng. Now, one of the reasons that it's doing this is there were a lot of counterfeit chips being made. And those counterfeit chips were discovered and lawsuits were levied against different companies. And the drivers now look to make sure it's a real chip or an ID'd chip and won't work. The new drivers won't work on a counterfeit or unidentifiable chip. So that's why that's happening. So what you need to do is go on up to, oh, I don't know, Amazon or whatever. Search Amazon for a programming cable for a Baofeng that says Windows 10 compatible. Make sure it says it there. You're going to pay between $8 and $10 for it. If you got Prime, it comes to you free. So let's take this other chip, this other one, and let's go ahead and plug it in and see what happens. All right, there it is. Okay, and I have now a new USB serial port, COM10. So let's go ahead and close that. Now, let's go ahead and open up Chirp. All right. Now, excuse me, this provides okay, now let's go ahead and open up Chirp. You notice it's a blank canvas. Well, we haven't done anything with it yet. You may get some boxes with warnings or other things popping up. Don't worry about that. The first thing we're going to do, though, is we're going to hook this cable up to our radio. So, let's go over here. We're going to open up the side door right here where the mic and keyboard or mic and speaker plugs in, and we're going to plug it in. We're going to make sure that it plugs all the way down in there. We're going to really push it in. And now we're going to turn it on and turn our volume to high. All right. Now, what we're going to do from here is we're going to go ahead and go to radio, and we're going to select download from the radio. Now, why, there's nothing in here, so why are we going to download from the radio? Well, because the firmware that they put in the Baofengs changes so often that you want to get a clean download of your radio and make all the changes, right, before you try to upload it back. If you try to upload back something that was not saved from your radio, you stand a chance of bricking the radio, okay? Fair warning, just remember that. So here, I've got to select my COM port. COM port 10 is the one it identified. I need to select my radio, and I've got all sorts of choices here. I mean, I even have Yaesu, I've got Wacom, another one, Radio Oddity is in there. So let's go ahead and we'll select Baofeng. And now we look down here. Well, you know what? I don't see an FT8. But what I do see, and what will work for sure, is the UV5R. UV5R is the most common configuration on the Baofengs regardless of the name, okay? Let's go ahead and we'll click OK. And look at that. Little green bar is moving. That means I got everything right and it's reading from the radio. Now, this doesn't take long at all. Once it's done, I should have all the settings that are currently set in the radio. There you go. Okay. Now, let's go back over to the radio. And we're going to go ahead, and all we're going to do is we're just going to turn the volume all the way down and shut it off and leave it sit there, okay, for right now while we do the rest of the voodoo that we do, okay? Now, over here, of course, are your memories, but remember, we reset this thing all the way back. So if I click on Settings, I have all sorts of cool things I can set up, all right? One thing that's pretty cool is I can change my carrier squelch level down to about 2. That's where I like it. If you're in a really noisy area, you may want it higher. I hate the beep, so I turn it off. Timeout timer. So that is when you're transmitting, how long before it stops transmitting because it thinks you're transmitting too long. I usually set mine to 180 seconds or 3 minutes. It seems to be kind of a standard. All right. I like on my display to display the frequency. You might want to display the name or even the channel number. I leave mine on frequency. I don't typically mess with the colors. And you know what? You're an amateur radio operator. Never turn on the Roger beep. It is just, it is bad form. Okay? Let's go to advanced settings. VOX, right? We don't want this thing to key when it hears noise, so we're going to leave that off. Most of this we're going to leave, except for the voice. I don't like the voice in Chinese. And as a matter of fact, I don't like the English prompts either. You can leave them, change them to English, but I typically just turn them off. Scan resume is fine. Chances are you're not going to be scanning. I turn off the tail eliminate. Okay, tail squelch eliminate. It's just me. I like it that way. I leave all the menus active. I can actually turn off some menus right here. But I leave them all active. We'll go to other settings. The only thing I'm probably going to want to do here is on my power on message, I want it to read AG6AG. Now, yours won't, okay? It'll say something different in here, but that's just when it powers on. It's the little message that pops up, and I like it to say my call sign. Of course, I'm going to enable both UHF and VHF, and I'm not going to change the low and high frequency limits. Work mode. So, display A, okay. Frequency, keypad lock, we're not going to enable, and that we would enable when we're doing it. And this just selects the channels. So, you can leave this any place you want. For me, I actually like to have on my primary, I like to have channel 32 because 32 is our local repeater out here that's used as a secondary repeater. And on my B frequency, I like channel 2, which is I program typically as my main frequency or our main repeater, okay? VFO frequency. So when it's in VFO mode, what the heck? We're going to just change this to 146520. Oops, needs a decimal. 000. And then for our B frequency, let's change it to 446.00000. Now, there's going to be no shift in VFO. There's no offset in VFO. VFO, I want to start out in high power on both of them, and I want wide bandwidth rather than narrow. Like I said, I'm an amateur radio operator. The rest of this looks pretty good. FM radio presets, whatever you want. That's the local country western station out here. You can change it to whatever you want. That's just for your FM button. DTM settings, I don't touch these at all. I don't. No. And service settings, I leave these alone as well. Okay, but these are just squelch levels, right? Where the squelch is going to be set when you select squelch 1 or squelch 2 or squelch 3. And remember, we changed ours over here to squelch 2. All right, well, that covers all the settings. Now we can go to memory frequencies. So remember, I specified a couple. Well, the first thing I want to do is it's got some pre-programmed stuff in here. So I'm going to, oh, and by the way, for channels, I want to show empty, okay? It may come out without this turned on, and it's only going to show the channels that are programmed. Click empty so you can see all the channels that are available, okay? And let's go ahead, and we're going to highlight all of, forgot to hold the shift key. Nothing like working without a net, huh? All right, hold the shift key down, press that. We've selected all the frequencies, and I'm going to hit delete. And guess what? Now, no frequencies are actually configured at all. So, let's go ahead and put in the two frequencies that I was talking about here. We're going to put in frequency 2, right, which is going to be 147.885. The name I'm going to call it Bozo. That's our affectionate nickname for that repeater. The tone mode for this is going to be tone. And the tone that I need to put in here is 127.3. And it doesn't really show that real well, does it? Let's open that up so you can see the whole thing. No tone squelch. None of that. It's not going to be cross mode, okay? But I've got my offset right there, and my power is high, right? So what direction is my offset? Whoop. Negative, right? So this should be all set to go for this frequency on frequency 2. Anyway, and of course I changed the sorting. Shame on me. So that looks pretty good. Now, let's scroll down to channel 32. I need to put this one in, which is 146.850. My tone is going to be tone. The actual tone for this one is, I believe, I'm guessing here, 88.5, but you know what? I could be wrong. I don't remember that one. Anyway, and the rest of this is correct, right? It's automatically set my duplex to negative and set my offset to 0.6 or 600 kilohertz, okay, for my offset. Now, if you don't understand what those settings are, you need to study a little bit about how repeaters work, okay? And right now with this, believe it or not, I have enough in here that I can write all this to the radio. Something you probably want to do, though, is you're probably going to want to do a save. You're probably going to want to ID it somehow. Let's see. Oh, you know what? I forgot the name. Oh no, I need to put the name in here. This is Grissom. All right. Now, let me save it over the top of itself. Now, I have 2 frequencies in there. A small start, but a start nonetheless because I changed all my settings. And I'm going to change one other setting in here. I'm going to change the backlight timeout. I'm going to set it to about a minute so it's going to be easier. The top is 24 seconds, so I'm going to set it for 24 seconds. And that way, just for this particular setting, we'll be able to see the backlight a little bit longer, okay? So, with that, let's go ahead and upload now to the radio. What I want to do is I want to go over to my radio again, and I want to turn it on, like so. And I'm going to go ahead and upload to radio. And it's got all the settings. I can't change anything because I'm uploading from a file that's been identified and downloaded. Okay? So here we go. And, oh, we get our little green light. Cool. So, like I said, these uploads go pretty quick. And they're quite helpful. Almost done. Now, this is going to change all sorts of stuff on this radio, so this is pretty cool. There we go. We're done. Now I can go over to the radio, and it's in VFO mode. I'm going to go ahead and turn it off, unplug the cable. Let's turn it back on. Let's put it in memory mode. There we go. And I have my 2 frequencies in there. And let's check. I'm going to go ahead and squeeze the key on 146.850. And I bet you that I've got the PL tone wrong. That's all right. Let's try 147.885. There you go. All right. So we now have our repeaters programmed. Now what? Well, we got a couple frequencies programmed in here, but we need a lot more. Let's face it, I'm in Ventura County. We probably have 100 odd frequencies that I could program into this radio. So how are we going to do that? I mean, I could theoretically go down the list and program each and every frequency in here, right? That would be a long time. So what else can we do? Well, maybe, just maybe, there might be a CSV file floating around that you might be able to use. You need to check with your friends and your buddies on it, but there might be one. Now, if you have this all programmed, if you're the first guy on your block to program all these frequencies in, okay, then hey, guess what? You can go ahead and figure out how to do it from there and then export it. But for now, let's go ahead and I'm going to go look for a frequency list for my county. Now, I'm going to go to, well, let's see. Let's see if it's over on my COMM.org site. This is the Ventura County Emergency Communications site. And this has all sorts of great assets for you. So let's see here. Frequency lists for radios. There we go. How about Chirp Baofeng? Okay. Let's go ahead and grab that one. There we go. And I am going to stick this, I think, well, we'll just for now, we'll drop it in downloads. There we go. And it's downloaded. All right. So we're done with that. Now, let's go ahead and we're going to select all of our stuff here. We're going to delete what we put in. Nice clean slate again as far as the frequencies go. Yeah, I know. But all of our settings, of course, are still in here, right? All we did was erase the frequencies. Now, let's go ahead and we can do a file, import, and let's go to where we downloaded that, which I believe was in downloads. And there it is. We'll open it. And basically, it's got all the frequencies for our area set up for a Baofeng, right? So I'm going to go ahead and say, OK. And look at that. They're all in there. All with names, all programmed and ready to go. And I have to look. 94.8, not 88 point whatever. All right. Well, I'm going to try to remember that for the next time. So look at that, though. I have all the frequencies for the county, and they match up with the frequency numbers that the county has provided us. So that's a win-win, okay, any way you look at it, because if you're going to go to an event or whatever, they're going to say, hey, go to channel 12 for simplex. If you're not configured with the same channel numbers as everybody else, well, guess what? You got a problem. Let me go ahead and save this, and let's go over to the radio again. And we're going to make sure it's off, and we are going to plug our programming cable in yet again, making sure it's all the way in, and we're going to turn the radio up on high. Now, let's go over. And we're going to select radio, upload to radio. And again, COM10 is correct. This is the Baofeng, and its model is a UV5R as far as the configuration software is concerned. Let's do it. Now, if this thing airs out trying to upload, you may have missed a couple things. Like I said, you got to push that plug in all the way. That's really important. And of course, you've got to get the volume turned all the way up. There we go. All done. So we want to go back over to our radio. let's go ahead and turn it off. Unplug the programming cable. Turn it on. It's in VFO mode, so I want to go to memory mode. And now, I have all the memories. Look at that. And let's see if I'm close enough. There it goes. That one works. All right. So, and it's even talking back to me. And that's it. That's all you need to know for right now. Couple things. Let's talk important things, okay? Number one, let's read our manual, okay? Please, read the entire manual for your radio, whether it's a Baofeng or a Yaesu or whatever. Secondly, make sure that you look around for the right list of frequencies for your area. Contact your local club, contact your areas group, whatever you need to do. It's going to save you a bunch of time. And also, even more important, make sure that you know how to program your radio manually. This is really important because if you're in a tight spot out in the middle of nowhere and you need to change frequencies or do stuff like that, you need to know how to do that. If you want to program in a new repeater, you need to know how to do that. I think, if I remember correctly, there's a how-to. Let me see here. There is a how-to on the Canal Valley Amateur Radio Club site. Let's see. Technical articles. Let's see. I seem to remember somebody telling me wow, a lot of articles in here. Let's try from the bottom. There we go. Programming a Baofeng UV5R. And there you go. This discusses how to do it, the simple steps, and how to get it done from the radio itself. So, that URL, I'll go ahead and stick down in the comments. And please, any questions or anything, let me know. Wow. Well, I hope you got as much out of that as I got out of showing you how to do it. These are important skills, and you think, all right, well, I'll put in the major repeater and I'll leave it at that, or I'll just work in VFO mode and I can figure out how to get all this done on the radio. Radio programming is an art, and every manufacturer does it a little different. Their menus are different. The meanings of their menus are a little bit different. So, of course, you've got to read the manual, whether you use programming software or not. But, from that standpoint, hey. Anyway, with that, thank you so much. And don't forget to subscribe if you liked the video. Also, you have any questions or comments, please go on down there and make them down in the comment section. I try to answer all questions within a couple days. So it is active. We do look at them. We do read them. Also, if you like this video and you want to see more like it, click the like button. Anyway, with that, 73 from Stu, AG6AG. I hope to hear you out on the air.